Where's the little clicker thing? There we go. All right. So we're moving now from the district community grants that all of the criteria for the community grants are established by our district, and it's monitored by sending a one-liner or overview of it to Dick upon Dick sending out an acceptance date, and then they're all put in queue and we process them. You put your money up front and we reimburse you upon completion, right? Now we're moving beyond that. We're moving to our global grants, and the global grant process is very, very different, okay? I'm gonna get this right. Oh, why isn't this working? Is the battery low? I thought you just put a new battery in. You can use mine.
Oh, he. Let me use the battery light is on there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Goes one way. Okay. 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 Oh, you're going too far. Okay. So it's the bottom one, right? Bob. Bottom one. Okay. Okay. No, it's not. Not working. And, yeah, I'm yours. It is on. It is on. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and it's just not working. The light's going on, but it's not working. It's there. You were using mine?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it. Okay, put it on and try. It's not working either. Why is that? And it's on. It doesn't. So there's something we're not doing right. What is it we're not doing right?
I don't care all manually.
Okay. 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 Sorry for the technical challenges here, but we'll try and get it sorted out. Oh, now we have a lovely picture of a storm. Okay. We'll go to the next slide. Go to the meeting. I can just work from here then. I'll work from here and do it manually because we don't want to be wasting a lot of time. And that'll work. The right one, yeah. Okay, so the global grant process is a little bit more challenging, but it's not overwhelming. There are many clubs that will say now that they will not apply for a global grant because the process is absolutely too labor intensive. It does have some challenges, right? It has guiding principles that we do have to follow. It's complex. These are not simple little grants. This is a complex grant. It's a minimum of $30,000 grant and can go up to $200,000. So of course the criteria is going to be far more severe. There's a more thorough review of the grant application. There is a need for clubs to partner costs and grant experience, because when you're dealing with that much money, knowing that your club is responsible for that money, you want to make sure that everything is done in order to give that project maximum opportunity to be successful. Okay. The qualifications, requirements are you have to attend a grant management seminar in the Rotary year prior to the grant year. Now this is the last time for you people who are all going to be qualified. Once you are qualified, and by virtue of your presence here, you will be, next year you do not have to attend a grant management seminar. You re-qualify online, okay? For anyone who is not qualified, then they do have to attend DTA next year, okay? All right. You submit a signed District 5020 Club District Memorandum of Understanding. That you pull off the website, and you have your president and your president-elect sign that and submit it to me. Once that's submitted, and by virtue of this attendance, then both your club and yourselves are qualified. You're then able to write a grant, right? So for this year, this training, it's President's 17-18 and President-elect 18-19. Okay. To maintain qualification, you have to follow the terms of the club memorandum of understanding. You're to appoint a club member committee to manage club qualifications. Now that's really important. We don't, it's not advisable to have any one person operating in isolation of their club. Allow your club members to enjoy the process of developing a project and enjoying the success of that project. And we all know in order to get buy-in from anybody, club members or community, they have to be active participants. So the more people that you involve in your club processes, the more successful that you're going to be. And then you have to fully implement the stewardship practices to prevent misuse of funds. All right? Bottom line, if someone wants to steal from you badly enough, they're going to do it. But if you follow all of your stewardship practices, at least you can look at the end result and say, we did everything in our power to ensure that this didn't happen. Okay. So we have to be sure, again, conflict of interest. When a Rotarian benefits financially or personally from a grant, benefit can't be a direct. Rotarian benefits are indirect, an associate of the Rotarian benefits. Right? Examples, member of an executive of an NGO is a Rotarian and seeks funding for the project. I'm going to use my own club as an example. The director of Mercy Ships Canada is a member of my Rotary Club. The executive director of Mercy Ships Canada. Right? Have you heard of Mercy Ships Canada? All right. So my club wanted to develop a project to provide a Rotary room on the Mercy Ships Canada ship that is currently in Cotonou, Benin. So they developed this grant process without any input from the executive director. The club prepared the proposal, and they filed a conflict of interest forms. So everyone knew at RI and everyone knew in the community that yes, the executive director is a member of our club, but the executive director is a salaried position from Mercy Ships Canada. The executive director does not make a commission off of every donation made to Mercy Ships Canada. So then there was not a problem, right? So that's a pretty good example, because with all our clubs, we have many mayors, councillors, executive directors, right, or business owners. So as long as you're upfront, there's not a problem. Okay, Global Grants Fund. Global Grants fund large-scale projects and activities that have to align within the area of focus. They respond to a need benefiting from the community that the community has identified. And now RI is requiring a community assessment, an actual community assessment for a global grant approval, which makes perfect sense, doesn't it? We don't want to lay anything on a community. Nobody likes to be told what they want and need. We all like to ensure that whatever happens is what we decide in our community is necessary. Okay? We want to make sure that all of our projects are sustainable after we've concluded our work. Sustainability means training. You have to have that training component so that you give the community the privilege of owning that project and being able to sustain it, and then have measurable results. And that comes right out of your grant management manual, which is on the ROI website. Yes?
There's very little guidance on how to perform a community assessment. If you, let's say we're trying to do a community assessment in Tanzania. We could spend as much on the community assessment as we would on the whole project.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Okay? But thank you for reminding me. And if I miss it, you bring it up. All right? Thank you. Okay, so global grant, minimum size $30,000. It's approved by RI. It's not approved by us, right? So when you're starting the process, it's advisable that you send an overview to me so that I can be aware that this is what you're doing. But you don't have to. You can put it online, and I make a practice of checking every week to see who is doing what. But quite often I'll find that a global grant has been entered and has been given a number, and then I read through it. And then I'll look at it, and if I have questions, I'll call you. But it could go through all the way up to the submission level and my not knowing about it. But once it's submitted, then I get to, I have the obligation to authorize it. So if something's not right, then we can't authorize it, right? But RI is the one that approves it. And they don't approve it based on a value. They don't compare one global grant application to another and say this one is of more benefit. It's whoever's in line and has all their ducks in a row. They get themselves approved, and you get all your ducks in a row, and we tag money for you. Okay? It can be a multiple year project, but it still requires annual reporting. Yes?
The minimum is $30,000.
Yes.
The maximum you said was $200,000.
Yep.
Is that per year or per grant? If it's a multi-year, can you do $200 per year for a couple of years?
No. No. A grant is a beginning and an end. A grant is a beginning and an end. So you want to do A, B, and C, you need to do A first, beginning and end, B, and C, right? Yeah. Okay. It requires a host club. You must have a host club in the country, all right? You must have a host club that is able to supervise that project, because remember, you're on the hook for the money, right? It requires club training and MOU with the district, with the host district, right? They have to be qualified. And RI is the one that will say whether they're qualified or not. It requires active participation amongst Rotarians. That's where your sustainability, your community assessment is concerned. It's advisable that you have your team of Rotarians go to the country and connect with the community leaders. Make your contacts, make your relationships, form the trust amongst the Rotarians and the community leaders. I mean, we all travel every year. We're all over the world. I have you on Facebook. I know where you're going. So, so when you're there, do a little work. You do a lot of work, but do some PR work. Okay. It can be a project of multiple clubs, and most often is a project of multiple clubs. It can also be a project of multiple districts. It's a lot of money. Some of the clubs to raise $5,000 is difficult. So get a few clubs together. The minimum acceptance for a global is a $10,000 club pocket of money, but it doesn't have to be from one club. Okay? It can be a project of multiple clubs, and all processes are internet-based. There's no paper involved. So when you're going through the process, it isn't that difficult because it tells you there's a series of lines, and as soon as you've finished one line, you go on to the next line, right? And the color changes from gray to blue. So you know when you're finished, go blue, 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 all the way down, then it comes to submit, right? Press the submit button. I then get a notification from RI saying, this grant is ready for your approval. I look at it, and I see, okay, there's 3 districts involved here. I'm going to be the last one to approve. I have to be sure, if you say you're getting DDF from other districts, I want to see the approval for that DDF from the other districts and the approval from all of your committee entered. Once I see all of that, then I will approve it, and then I email the DG, and the DG is the final one to approve. But again, RI has done all the work beforehand, and if RI has questions, you must answer their questions. So we have 3 types of global grants. One is humanitarian, and that means it's a grant in a particular area of focus. So Humanitarian aid is an aid in action designed to save lives, alleviate suffering, and maintain and protect human dignity. Comes from the Truman document, 1949. Just to bring it back down to Rotary language, we're doing something to make lives better in a community, right? Just doing something to make lives better. So the areas of focus are peace, conflict prevention, resolution, disease prevention and treatment, water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, and economic and community development. We've all been involved in grants long enough that we know what these 6 areas of focus are. There's policy statements online. It's all on the foundation page. The specific wording is important. Some clubs try and do them all in one grant, right? Please don't do that. It's because the specific wording is really important. Pick one area of focus and then elaborate on that one. Because quite often they cross boundaries, for sure. But focus your attention on that one area of focus, on what your grant proposal is going to do in that particular area. More isn't necessarily better, first come, first serve. It is not competitive. And you must do everything that you say you're going to do. That's the key. Global grants are community-driven, designed by the host, community based upon needs they have identified. So when you write a grant, you're the international partner, and the recipient is the host partner. Okay? You work with the host club. It requires you have a host club. You need to work with that host club. The project's based on community need. It's not imposed, and you assess the resources of your club and your potential partners. My goodness, when we look around at our clubs, we have such a rich body of resources available to us. And that's why we say, please get more than 1 or 2 people involved in the grant process. Have as many people as you can trained, and then use their expertise. Active participation, not just check writing, okay, Rotarian participation, international and hosts. Stewardship is key. You work with cooperating organizations, but you need an MOU with that cooperating organization. And the MOU identifies who's doing what, how, when, and who's responsible for what. Okay, and you include PR and identifying the Rotary role, because we want people to know what it is that we're doing. We want our own Rotarians to know what it is we're doing. It has to be sustainable, giving the community the skills and knowledge to maintain project outcomes for a long term after the grant funds have been expended. It has to be a standalone project. We can't fund something year after year after year where the community never, ever gets to the point of being an independent body. They're constantly dependent upon our donations. That's charity. That's not community development. We are into community development. There has to be plans for maintenance and financing, and the outcome has to be measurable. Project and financing. There's a minimum $10,000 contribution. It doesn't have to come from one club. But this is the formula, and the formula works from a little bit of money all the way up to a $200,000 grant, right? The clubs contribute, let's say one club or a couple of clubs contribute a body of money that's $10,000. The district matches 100% up to $15,000. We cap DDF at $15,000. The reason we do that is so that we can approve more and more grants. We want your clubs, all of your clubs, we have 90 clubs, we want you all to have the opportunity to participate in these grants. The Rotary Foundation matches 50% of club money and 100% of district money. So the club at $10,000, the foundation will match 50%, right? So there's $10,000 of club money. There's $10,000 of DDF. There's $5,000 from the $10,000 of club money. and there's $10,000 matching from RI DDF. Gives you a total of $35,000. Whether you're, if you just, it's multiples then. If you can raise $30,000, then the end result is that much more. Financing guidelines, contributions raised by Rotarians. RI will not match monies that are not raised by Rotarians. Right? Funds cannot be raised from beneficiaries in exchange for a grant. Can't come from other grants. Can't get a community grant to use the money for a global grant. Contributions are credited to the donor, right? And we want to avoid conflicts of interest.
What do you mean credited to the donor?
To the donor club.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Judy, I've heard it said twice today that you can't use contributions from another, I think you mentioned a Boys and Girls Club a while ago.
Yeah.
But they can give the money to Rotary, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? It's not matched by RI. That's what we're saying. The Boys and Girls Club can give money to your club. If you want to have a joint project and Boys and Girls Club want to participate, they can, of course. You're not going to say no. It's just that RI is not going to match it. Okay? RI won't match it. That's a separate body. That's not money raised by Rotarians.
No, but we're doing a fundraiser.
Yep.
Another organization gives to our fundraiser. Do we then?
Oh, if your fundraiser raises the money, that's a different story. Right? Is that right? Okay. Well, I guess what we're saying is, okay, so you, in your club, you get $10,000 from your club is raised through their fundraisers, and you're doing something, let's say it's going to benefit Boys and Girls Club over in Tanzania, right? And so the Boys and Girls Club here says, okay, we'll join in, we'll give you $10,000. RI is going to match the money that you Rotarians have raised. They're not going to negate that $10,000 that from Boys and Girls Club. That's part of your funding plan. That's why when you look at a funding plan, you see pockets of money coming from all over. But it's not all of those pockets of money that's matched by RI. And we won't match it either. We'll only match the money that you've raised. Is that clear? Yeah. Well, you're getting a little fuzzy there, so we have to. You know what we have a saying is we're not in the business of laundering money, so we have to try and be as upfront and transparent as possible, right? So there's always ways of getting around things, always, always, always. But we have to remember the four-way test. Okay, we're Rotarians. Okay, funding restrictions again. Right? Terms and conditions are available. We cannot fund any of the following. We can't fund purchase of land or building, the purchase of construction or additions to structures in which people live or work, operated admin or indirect program costs of another organization. We can budget for project admin, and we can budget for simple schools and low-cost housing. But those criteria are brand new, and those criteria are they will be on the website. We're getting them all posted so that you can understand what that's all about. So there are references for you. I recommend that you download them and read them. Now, if the younger ones can read them online, me, if I want something, I have to print it off so that I can highlight what's important. So whatever your learning style is. Okay, the life cycle of a grant. Okay, we start off inputting the application. Okay, hopefully you start off by sending me a little bit of a heads up saying, you know what, Judy, where are you in your funding? How much money do you have? Is there any money left this year? This is what most people do. Is there any money left this year? This is what I'd like to do. And I'll have a look at it and I'll say, you know what, if you can get your grant application completed, 100% completed, I can tell you right now I have $109,000 that's sitting in a pocket, all right? However, I also have the same number in grants waiting for that money to be assigned to them. That money cannot be assigned to them until their application is fully completed and submitted, and then it's authorized. But I say to them, you know what, you are in queue. I can tag that money for you. I will tell you that if you complete by the end of the year, I will authorize that money. But if you cannot complete by the end of the year, I can tell you that I will tag that money for you in the next year. I'm not going to hold back money on someone with a promise to complete when you can see that they're a long way off when other clubs have completed. Okay, so I don't want to send any money back to RI. We want to use up all of that $109,000. And the way it stands now, if all of these global grants are in queue, if they're completed, we will have spent that $109,000 with only 1 or 2 carried over for next year. Is that clear? Okay, because we want to spread that money out. So that's at this part, right? The application is submitted online, okay? And then staff looks at it. Me too, I look at it and I watch it, right? If there's any misinformation, the staff will send you a letter, an email saying, you know, we need this, this, and this, okay? Applications are then forwarded for a secondary review. Sponsors receive notification of approval, an announcement letter, and payment instructions. If everybody does their homework, you could have this part completed in 4 weeks. But that's a mighty big if. That's a mighty big if, because some of the pitfalls are it's hard to get your host partners to get their authorizations in. You're doing the work, so you've got the funding, you've got your budget, you've got your partners, you have all of that done. But if your host club hasn't done their homework or having trouble getting all of their authorizations in, it holds up the package, okay? So, but once it is approved, it's approved by RI, not by me, okay? Okay, then it's a payment phase. And they tell you, you know, you have to provide a bank account and let them know where the money's going. You have to have the payments processed, and then there's the reporting phase. And that's really important because our district is monitored every few months on who is late in their reports. And we get big, you know, I get big Excel spreadsheets with these red red things that we don't like to see. Now we usually have a 97% reporting accuracy and on time. We've dropped to 90% because there's 1 or 2 clubs that have been a little bit tardy. We have a fantastic stewardship team. Doug Pearson is our stewardship chair, but he's still in the learning phase because it's a huge job. So Ken Parsons from last year is still helping Doug, and he runs reports, and he will be sending letters if anybody's late, right? Because it makes you wonder if you're late. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a reason, okay? And then there's the final reporting, right? So, oops, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. Pardon?
Question?
Yes?
So on the reporting, go back to the letter that goes to the club when the club is late.
Yes?
Who does that letter go to?
When the club is late, it comes from the steward. It goes to the grant writer.
So it doesn't go to the club president. If the grant writer's a one-up, nobody else in the club is going to know that he's late.
Exactly, and that's where you run into problems. And that's why we stress that you need to have an International World Community Service Committee. You need to have a body of individuals within your club that know exactly what you're doing.
But if the president is responsible for the board and the expenditures of monies and so forth, can the president be informed of that?
Late report? Yeah, sure. Because the bottom line is it's not the president personally that's responsible, it's the club that's responsible, right? So the club really, a club is not one person. A club is a body of people. So any decisions made by the club should involve that body of people. And we're hoping to get beyond this. There is a culture where one person runs the club. One person actually can hold a club hostage as far as grant writing is concerned, and that is happening right now because we have a regulation. You can not have any more than 4 open global grants at any one time, no more than 3 in any one year. So we do have clubs that have 4 open grants, which means that anyone else within that club that has a wonderful idea for a grant proposal cannot submit it. No one in that club can submit another grant until at least 2 grants have been closed. That's not right. I mean, it's not right that the club has allowed this to happen, right? So the clubs really have to take a look at their culture as far as grants are concerned. Okay?
Judy, a question on that.
Yeah.
Does TRF say how many your hosts can have?
No.
I thought they could have like 10.
No, TRF is out of it. They don't care how many you have.
Not us, but the hosts.
No, they don't care how many the hosts have either. It's performance.
Okay.
It's performance. So if they're continually late, they will be put on suspension, right? They will be put on suspension. So, yeah, they put on the bad boys list. Okay.
But again, just to press the point, if there's only one person that the grant community at the district level is talking to,
Yeah.
at the club level, and that person is not the club president, then the club doesn't know that there's a problem.
Yeah, so yes, except that there's a committee, there's committee participants listing on the RI site, on the grant site, the grant application. So if there's a problem, it's not only the grant writer that knows, it's the other people that are mentioned on the committee, and there has to be a couple of other people, as well as the host partners. No, everybody that's involved in the grant is notified that there's a problem with this grant. So a late report, they're notified too. But as far as going outside of what's there from RI, they're not notified.
So as a new foundation chair learning about grants,
Yeah.
there's a place I can go, the TRF, to find out who is on the grant application, who's on the list for that grant for my club. I can see that.
You know what? You can. You can go to the specific grant itself. It has a grant number. You can go to that. You can open up and have a look. You can't change it, but you can have a look. Okay? And I would advise you to have a look. It can be enlightening. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, now we've talked about